Oh my God! It's Jason Wallace, everybody. Everybody, Jason Wallace.
Oh my God, what's up, Tom?
How's it going, man?
It's going.
Welcome to Off the Clock with Tom Devlin. This is when I don't work for 1 to 3 hours every other day.
Okay. I don't believe that you don't work for 1 to 3 hours every day.
No, that's what we're doing here. We're just hanging out with friends. Not working. Just doing.
Just saying you're a busy guy. That's all.
Yeah, that's the point. And we've been talking all about our experience on Teddy Told Me To. Okay. We've been talking about Halloween, and I know you're a big Halloween guy, so I'd like to get into that. For those of you who aren't aware of Jason Wallace is an actor. He's a suit actor, performer. He has helped with production on all assets, and this guy is just an all-around fun dude to have around, and one of our favorites. I think he's been involved with every movie I've ever made. I don't think there's one.
I got it on the ground floor, man.
Yeah. And with that, he's also a scientist and a Halloween. I wouldn't say a professional, but a heavily Halloween enthusiast.
Yeah, that's probably a fair assessment. Yeah.
I was talking to Waleed earlier, and I was asking him about like his earliest memories of Halloween. Do you have an early memory of like the first costume or the best Halloween that you ever had, and what kind of what does that line up for?
That's a good question. So Halloween for me, it depended on whether I was at my dad's or my mom's house that particular date, right on the calendar. If it was with mom, no Halloween. That just wasn't her bag. She didn't care for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Like no Halloween?
No Halloween at all. She's I was raised Seventh-day Adventist.
Really?
Yeah. So I haven't been that in quite some time now. But that was she's still pretty hardcore with all that stuff. We would actually not only not go trick-or-treating, but sometimes she would take us out with everybody else, but we'd be collecting cans for the church. So we would knock on the door and they'd be like, "Hey, happy Halloween." And she'd like shut that down. No, we're here to collect food for the poor and things like that. So it was interesting. As an adult now, I totally get that. Like, she's taking advantage of the fact that people will actually open your door. I mean, this is a different time.
Right.
This is the 70s and early 80s. But as a little kid, it was kind of embarrassing, But it was that was the experience with mom.
I had a friend, a really good friend, who's a pretty prominent effects artist now. I'm not going to mention his name, but he grew up a Jehovah's Witness. And he told me this story one time about he's like sitting on the back of the couch looking out the window. He grew up in a similar area to you in like Long Beach area. Right. But just staring out the window and all the kids running by, in their costumes. And this little kid dressed like an Indian stopped, turned at him, pulled the bow back and like imaginarily released it and then ran off, and he just cried because he wanted so badly to be trick-or-treating. And like, he's that dude became like a monster guy. So like that memory was so set that he was not allowed to partake, So that knowing that how involved with monsters you are, both in movies, but also like you do a yard display that's second to none, and not being allowed to partake when you were a kid, I really do understand why it's so important to you now.
There's a little bit of a forbidden fruit sort of aspect to it back then.
But it's also that thing where it's like, don't press the red button. But then when you're on your own, you're like, I'll do what I want.
Right. Or maybe I wouldn't have ever pressed the red button unless somebody kept telling me not to.
You might not have ever cared.
Yeah. With if I was with my dad's, it was a different setup. It was completely I would just leave. Yeah. I would just go with my friends, and that was back when you could actually fill an actual pillowcase full of candy, and you'd stay up all the way, well past when the last light went on, and just sort of dicked around for the rest of the night. So that was a lot of fun.
Did you do costumes and stuff like when you were with your dad?
We did costumes. We actually used to do a lot of those old you'll
the Ben Cooper
yeah,
ones.
the little plastic baby things and the mask that cut extra holes in your face. Amazing.
Some of my favorite. I was just telling Waleed, I think my first costume I remember was a Ben Cooper Dracula costume, but I didn't wear the face. I painted my face, slicked my hair back, but I had the plastic bib that just said Dracula on it.
Right.
Like, in case you didn't know, I'm
that was
Dracula.
The part of it that was funny. You're almost like wearing the movie poster instead of it. It's like, no, I know who it is. Give me the suit or the muscles. Or
it just says Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
But my favorite memory of Halloween is there was a house in my grandpa's neighborhood. I grew up in this weird kind of triangle. So I lived at my mom's. My dad was a couple miles away in one direction. My grandpa was a couple miles, sort of equidistant in another. So I sort of like just, back then we just wandered back and forth whenever. But closer to my grandpa's house, there was a house that everyone knew was the Halloween house. And they would do one of those, open the garage, and they'd staple their sheets into the rafters. So it was kind of it was pretty rudimentary, but for its time, it was the best game in town, And they would even, while you're in this long line, they would pass out these cheap little ceramic, like stamp and throw in the fire them off, real cheap, like necklaces, like a skull and crossbones or something like that. And it just absolutely captured my imagination. And I realized as a little kid, it's like, I want to be the house in the neighborhood. I want to be the Halloween house in the neighborhood.
And you are.
And I am.
You are the Halloween house.
And mine's more of a pop-up. I mean, you know this, but I'll sort of explain. I've been doing this is my 16th year in a row, which blows my mind, honestly. And it started out pretty small. And I just started just trying different things. YouTube's a really good resource, old magazines and things. How to turn old shiatsu massagers and windshield wiper motors into actually moving animatronic sort of zombie type stuff. And just little by little, I would add this, I would try that. It didn't quite work. So to me, it was more of it's not, what I do is not a walkthrough. It's more
a display.
It's a display. It's more of a kind of a tableau where you just like, and there really aren't any jump scares either. And people are always interested, like, why don't you do jump scares? And my reasoning is a little, I don't know, maybe it's evil. I don't know. I like to build that tension, and then they leave with it. So I don't give them that boom sort of like relief. Everyone still loves it. And after all these years, the people who come through, you could hear the little kids are like, oh, that's my favorite one, or oh he moved, he used to be there, now he's there. Oh, there's my favorite. So everyone sort of has their experience with it, but there's no like boom release sort of thing. So you could watch people sort of kind of uncomfortably like, they've seen it all, or they hang around longer because they're kind of waiting, and then they sort of leave, and then somewhere down the line you hear screaming and scares and stuff. So someone else gets them. Yeah. So I sort of set them up for that. And then kind of move them along. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, I've sort of toyed around with having some jump scares, but I find it funner to just sort of set a mood and a tone.
Almost all of what's at your place is zombies for the most part. Have you ever thought of changing the whole theme and just making them clowns, or change the whole theme and make them mutants?
I've thought about it a little bit. I don't have a great answer for this, but mostly the answer is I don't have a lot of time to sort of play around with it and set it up. Yeah. I have a house here in Boulder City. My wife and I live here, but I work for the state of California. I run a field station. We could talk about that later if you want, but I'm halfway between here and Los Angeles when I'm working. So my Halloween, like I've been doing it 16 years, but not a lot of folks in Boulder City even know it exists. Right. Because it doesn't materialize until the night of. It goes up on Halloween and it comes down on Halloween.
Well, I can tell you that I never understood it. I never understood why you would put so much work and then tear it right down until this year on the 26th when we did this block party haunted house, and I built a 17-room haunt and a facade and moved this whole 1,000 square foot thing to downtown Boulder City, set it up between 10 a.m. and 4:30, ran it until midnight, and then tore it all down and got home at 4 a.m. And I was like, wow, I still don't understand why you choose to do that, but I can tell you the amount of work that goes into the setup and then tear down in one night is just, I have no envy for those guys that set up like Kiss's stage show.
Right.
I mean, that is, or like the Supercross tracks. They go and build a Supercross track and then take it all out.
Fill the stadium with dirt and then scoop it all out.
Yeah, no, I have no, it's not, that's not the fun part for me, but it was, I totally related to you. You know, the exhaustion and I mean, it is because both of us care about what everything looks like, and you can't light it till it's dark. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
so
that's,
I played around with lighting tonight, or last night. I'll do a little bit more tonight. But once tomorrow, everything's got to be sort of set up. So there's lights, there's projectors, there's music. Like everything sort of has to work, and sometimes it just stops working. So I'm running around. It's kind of a one-man show, but I put myself on it. I mean, I would love to be able to put it up and just leave it up for the whole month if I could. I'm not here to watch it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was a teenage boy at some point, not saying that I would go over there and bust the whole place up. But I see people sort of look at it. You can see in their eyes, they're like, oh, we'll come back later and such and such. You know?
I don't know. I think this neighborhood in this town, people just don't mess with stuff the same way here that they do elsewhere. I just know that from my experience of leaving crap outside all the time.
Well, I was just talking to Kayla about all your stuff, and if you've ever had any issues, you're probably right.
Yeah.
But the reason I don't really change, because I know some people do what I do, but every year, you know, one year it's Pirates, and the next year it's this, and they build it all out. I just sort of know where everything kind of goes. I'll move things around a little bit. I lay all the cords out. Because some of the props can run all night, and some of them need to be, you know, you can start them and stop them, give them a break in between, or they'll just start kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
So there's sort of how I set everything up. Sort of has to be in my head because I only have a day or so to really sort of get everything out there. It's also kind of a weird kind of personal challenge. I've got friends who are just like, hey, can I help you set it up? I just say no.
Yeah. That's kind of how this haunt went on the. Like I had a bunch of people showing up. What can I do to help? What can I do to help? And I just said, don't let anybody in. Yeah. I got to finish.
Yeah.
I don't need anything. I just need me to get through this, you know. And it was brutal. It was. I don't think I was talking earlier. I just don't believe that I've ever done. I do a lot. I always do a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But from pre-production to Bloody Bluff to taking that haunted house down on Saturday night or Sunday morning, I don't even understand. I mean, and everything in between. I made a guy a Jason 7 costume. I made Tom Matthews a Return of the Living Dead face. I did, you know, I recorded 2 sessions of our album, and then we played a show at the Punk Rock Museum. In between all of this, you know, it was absolute madness, and I felt a little bit of like when I was doing that at that last night, tearing it down. I was like, this is kind of how Jason Wallace does it. But, I mean, not the same, but similar, you know. It was...
It's a ton of work on the front end and the back end.
So rewarding.
But for those, like, 4 hours, give or take, Halloween's the only... it's the only holiday that everyone celebrates together.
Yeah.
People would say Christmas. No, people celebrate with their families. They'll go to the mall and get pissed off and blah, blah, blah. Thanksgiving, some people do the Friendsgiving thing, but still, no. This is Halloween is at least if you're in the right neighborhood, is when you meet all the new neighbors.
Yeah.
Or when you meet folks who moved in right after last Halloween and just finally, oh, we're down on the house over there. We heard about you, or we didn't know this was going to happen at all. That 4 hours. I enjoy that so much that it doesn't matter how much work went in before and afterwards. And after the fact, I'll sort of sit with it. Everyone's gone. They're done. I'll enjoy it myself. I'll run around and take pictures and videos. And I have so many. I don't really do that as much anymore. But and then you just sort of like take a deep breath. Okay, here we go. And then just start bringing the stuff back into the house.
Will it ever end, or will you just keep going until, like, at what point, what's your end game? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, will you be 90 doing this, or will you...
I hope so. The way I don't have an end game. I don't have a plan.
Yeah.
I've got a big corner yard, and it took a while to slowly kind of build it out. At this point, anything I build now, I got to sort of take something in because it just gets too.
Yeah.
You get those Halloween houses where it's just like all the monsters are like elbow to elbow. And it's like solid monsters. Like that's cool in its own way, but it's not really the look that I'm going for.
Yeah.
I suspect as I grow older, it will become less elaborate.
Yeah.
So it'll
So we'll
pare down.
we'll have this cool rise, and we're really at a pinnacle right now.
Yeah.
And then it might come down a little bit.
Yeah, it might at some point. I don't think I'll get tired of doing it, but at some point it'll just. I'm not that old, but it'll get to that point where you're just like, all right, I don't want to take everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'll be really a conscious decision. I've made some changes. I used to have this 3D form that I shot a projector at. It sort of made it look like a character standing there, and it would talk and stuff, and people enjoyed it. But it took a lot of sort of lining up and setting up during the day, and then a lot of tinkering at night. And it didn't really go with sort of all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
So I did pare that down and kind of simplify things a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's at some point I would like to make kind of a big change. But I'm the zombie house, and like people just know it's going to be zombies.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, along with the whole Halloween theme, a lot of what we've been talking about has been Teddy Told Me To.
Yes.
And Teddy Told Me To being, the first film that I directed. And, of course, right when we came up with it, we had you in mind for playing Teddy. There's a midlife flashback in it. And kind of Teddy's first kill, which was Jason Voorhees character, actor, which was always intended. Like Teddy kills off Jason, and that makes him. It's kind of like in the old. They used to say like Sam Raimi in Evil Dead had a torn Hills Have Eyes poster because in Hills Have Eyes, Wes Craven had a torn Jaws poster.
Yeah.
And it says like we're the next scariest. We're the next scariest. And I thought if we killed Jason Voorhees, we're the next scariest.
Right.
And you got the honor to kill Jason Voorhees, and you also got the Warrington Gillette, and also Tabitha Stevens, and you got to don the mask and wear the outfit. And now there's people out there talking about this character as if it's like it's a horror character. There's a lot of fans out there. I get messages almost every day about, oh, I found this movie. This is a great movie. I can't believe you guys made this movie. And I always get warm and fuzzy about that. But I mean, tell me your experience. Me and Waleed were talking. He has different memories than I have because I was stuck in my head and he was in his head. But like, what is your experience with Teddy Told Me To? How did it all come about, and what was it like?
Well, first off, I'm super fucking honored to be Teddy, honestly. And I mean, that's my first experience really being on film. I did one other thing, but only because I knew you. I played a couple creatures in a different, was it the Macabre? But this is the first time I actually got to, I'm checking boxes here. Like I'm in a Tom Devlin movie. I get to be your character from 10 years before. How long was that?
Yeah, I had created Teddy in 2010. So we figured out that we made Teddy in 2022.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, the character had been around for a while.
Yeah. My first time I got my face on screen, I got to kill somebody.
Man, I was talking with Kayla earlier. When that mask comes off and the look in your eyes, that's that look that Tony Moran gives when the Michael Myers mask comes off. That is the like, I'm a killer look,
That was
it was awesome. That's Angela at the waterfront at the end of Sleepaway Camp. It's just that creepy eye looking crazy thing.
I channel it, man. I get into the characters, and I just, you probably hear this a lot, but I got the bug now. You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm super grateful to have the other experiences that I've had in your movies. Like I said, in front of the camera, behind it, it don't matter. I just want it. I want to be an asset. Yeah. And I want the movie to be better because I was there. Right. Even if it just meant everyone got a bottle of water. Yeah. I don't care what it is. But I'm rambling here a little bit off track.
That's fine.
As far as Teddy goes, it's a bit of a blur because it was such an amazing experience for me, and it sort of came out of nowhere. Like anytime my phone rings or I get a text or something, your name's there. This is going to be fun. I don't know what it's going to be, but there's a good chance that this is going to be something to look forward to and something to have a lot of fun doing. And that's what this one was. I don't recall exactly the how you told me. I think you called me and asked me. You said, "Hey, I've got this idea," like you normally do. I've got this idea. What do you think? I want you here. We figured out, my weird schedules. We figured out a time.
Well, I remember that schedule was super particular, but it worked in your favor because we had to shoot while Warrington was here for Days of the Dead.
Right.
And it was right. We had to shoot also CJ for Days of the Dead, but we shot him on the day before Days of the Dead started, and we shot Warrington on the day after Days of the Dead ended. And it was actually like the last shot we got for the movie. The stuff with you was the end.
Was the end. Oh, that is right.
Yeah.
It was just, it was kind of surreal because I'd never had any experience with that. I knew this was your first direct, your directorial debut. So, I want to give you the best performance that I can, but now I've got more experience that I could sort of pull from. Then it was just like, well, I guess if I was this character, what would I do or how would I do it? And I just, tell me what you want and I'll do my best. And super stoked that it worked out. But yeah, I come in having never been in a horror movie, and I walk out having killed Warrington Gillette
and Tabitha Stevens.
And sliced Tabitha Stevens. Yeah, and it's just like, okay,
that was cool.
What's next? Let's do something else. You know what I mean?
And did you helped with crew a little bit on Teddy or no?
I did a lot of crew. Yeah. Okay. It's fun to watch the movies I've been in, whether I'm in them or not, because I know where I'm standing. Yeah. And the part that I recall is there's the room where actually he gets stabbed. Well, no spoilers, right?
Oh, no, plenty of spoilers. It's been out for 2 years. We can talk about it.
But it's the room where all of his bodies are all the trophies are all everywhere. And
that's the room
right
you're sitting in right now.
That's so funny.
Isn't that crazy?
That's so weird. That's true.
So
I was right there.
You were right there.
I was right there because there was that false wall that I was hiding behind. I was feeding lines and I was coming out and running Slate. Yeah. I love running Slate, by the way. Any production I'm on, I'm right up there. If I can get on Slate, I'm a happy guy because you get a front row seat. Yeah. And you get to take BTS photos that no one else can get.
Well, you always love to listen. You love to listen to the camera guys. Yeah. And you love seeing the cast members how they're pulling.
I'm fascinated by all of it.
Yeah. So it is when you're running Slate or sound, you have that. It's like free film school.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But that's crazy. Yeah, there was a fake wall here, and you stepped out. It's funny, except for this stripe on the wall, you don't see much Teddy in this room anymore. But it's this is it. This is a layer.
Well, I mean, that's what's fun about coming to the museum, or what do we call this? The Tom Devlin backlot, right?
We call it the bullshit backlot, but
whichever. Yeah. Every single time I show up, it's different. Yeah. So, like, I'm waiting outside, and I realize, I'm talking to Kayla, and I'm like, oh, the tavern's already gone. You know what I mean? It's like, the tavern was fucking cool, But you can't get attached to these things.
No, we got to use them.
They're gone.
We use them.
The After Dark Club and
there's always remnants, a little bit of stacking remnants of each movie within the next movie, Yeah. There's a little After Dark Club in the Slaughterhouse, a little bit of Slaughterhouse in, whatever came after that.
Yeah.
It's always building up.
Well, I didn't get a chance to just sit out and watch Teddy again, but I had it on while I was working on stuff, so I was popping in and out.
Yeah.
And, there's fun, like, weird little Easter eggs. Like, for me, obviously not intended because it's the order of things. But he's chasing the main female character, and right behind her on the shelf, there's the slaughterhouse on the hill, Pig Mask.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because that's where the character was born
from the haunted house.
But like there it is, and I was like, aha.
Yeah.
And it looks like the butcher room and everything, and it's like, okay, I don't know, it's just kind of a fun moment that most people wouldn't probably know.
But I hope down the road they do notice,
yeah.
Like. Much like the Askew-universe in Kevin Smith's world, I layer in props and people and names from all of the Devlin verse. You know, we really do try to make things overlap sometimes to their detriment. In a film nobody's seen yet that they will see and they're gonna love. It's called Nameless. They are just blatantly talking about this monster from Legend of the Sasquatch, which is the first film I ever made, and I don't know that the viewers will ever understand what's going on. Right. But it's not for them. It's for me. You know.
Yeah, I mean that's. I dig that kind of stuff.
I love it. I love it. And we tie it into everything. I mean, and also I pull pop culture references from what I love, like the tavern in Bloody Bluff was called the Boggy Creek Tavern because it was a Bigfoot movie, you know. But and it fits, you know, but there's little things that we use that definitely pull back to the Plan 10 universe. And I think that seeing that pig mask in Teddy, I haven't noticed it because I haven't really looked for it since we made Slaughterhouse. Yeah. But that's interesting that's in that one because
it stuck out like a thumb to me.
Yeah.
You know what
because
I mean?
it's the character.
It's sitting on the bench.
And it's the same. That's the same mask.
Yeah. Right there.
The same mask. That's the screen used. Yeah. That's crazy. But we were saying earlier, and I do fully believe this, that Teddy Told Me To deserves to become that Halloween movie, a movie you watch at Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is a slasher film, but it's also, in a way, very much a Halloween movie, like Trick or Treat or something that you would just, 'tis the season, there's jack-o'-lanterns and creepy clowns and chainsaws, and it's time to watch a Halloween movie.
It's a little bit for everybody.
Yeah.
Especially since it's a haunted house. Everyone's dressed in different characters, so it's... In any other setting, it wouldn't really make sense. It's like, why are there clown killers and ringmasters and professional wrestlers? You know, why are all these people sort of together? But in the haunted house venue, you could do whatever the hell you want, and it all makes sense.
Yeah.
It's gory, but it's like fun over the top gory.
Yeah.
And it's goofy, it's funny at times, it's scary at times.
I got a lot of people, and most movies I make, it's always horror comedy or Tom Devlin's slapstick horror film, and I never ever have intended to make a comedy yet. In fact, quite the opposite. I really try not to make a comedy. I do have a very like 90s feel to what I do, so like I don't know if people would call Scream a horror comedy, right? Because I would call Scary Movie a horror comedy, but not Scream. But Scream, Wes Craven, I've listened to him speak many times before he passed, but he always talked about the roller coaster approach, that you have to give him those light moments to shock him, you know, to bring the dark moments. So, but sometimes I think I understand. I've sat in the theaters and I've heard people laugh, but I don't think I've ever intended on making a comedy, but it really does get labeled often as a horror comedy.
Well, it has its moments. I honestly don't think it's a comedy, but
like there's a musical montage and there's unnecessary slow motion, and to that I do attribute my influence of filmmaking. I think is Baywatch, because Baywatch has just got a lot of unnecessary slow motion and great musical montage for an entire length of a song, and there's usually some scantily clad ladies, and then there's Mitchell save the day at the end, you know, and that's very much, that's a Tom Devlin film in a nutshell.
Well, I think horror and comedy, there's a tension involved. There's a back and forth between the audience and what's being seen on the screen, right? Even at a comedy show, there's tension in the room, because that's a weird job.
Yeah.
And, you know, almost every joke is a risk. They're kind of like, how about this? How about that? So I think that's where you can get that, the funny out of horror. I mean, there are those just like torture porn type, you know, just like you go left instead of right, and you get captured by the hillbillies, and then it's 2 hours just get your finger and townnails pulled out, and it never lets up.
The Trek. If you have not seen The Trek, it's on Tubi. Right. The Trek.
Right. There's that where it just takes off. But when you have those little moments in between, those kind of human moments, because life is funny. There are those moments in the day where, and especially if you're tired and And just our film family, like we could be going we're on the 11th hour and everyone's burnt and whatever, we got things to do, and somebody says something and everyone just dies laughing. It's just it's a release.
Yeah.
So horror is a release, comedy is a release, and if you do it right and you get the right combination, it's gold.
Yeah. And that's what I think that's where my work gets mistaken as a comedy is I do add the light in there, so you really get hit with the darker side of things.
There's personality.
But also I don't think that Teddy is a terrifying movie. It's just a really fun movie. It's a movie that is fun. It's that film that you would watch on a sleepover or on Halloween night, or it's something that you can laugh at with your friends, but also just get that adrenaline rush of enjoying the ride. But I don't think you're not going to have nightmares watching Teddy Told Me To. I don't think.
No.
But it is definitely meant to be fun. And I always credit Friday the 13th Part 4 or Sleepaway Camp 2, because those are the two films that I really relate that film to, you know.
It's set up for a kind of a wider audience too. I'm sure there's a minimum there at some point, but generally it can be appreciated by kids. It can be appreciated teens, 20s, 30s, 40s. It's quotable. It has its moments. I mean, anytime you're watching a movie and someone's getting their head just repeatedly crushed in slow motion and everyone's cheering and laughing, that's not a comedy. That's just, it's amazing.
It's
just the right, you built the right amount of tension and you let them have it. And it's just that eruption of just like, holy shit kind of thing.
Talk about tell us about your experience going to the premiere. I mean, you didn't get to go on the whole tour.
Right.
But you did get to see a sold out screening.
Yeah.
Of
You
Teddy
did
Told
offer
Me
to pick me up for the LA one.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
that show was amazing too.
I'm still bummed
So
that I missed
we had people sitting in the aisles, and that was incredible. Yeah. The LA show, we'll get back to the Vegas show, but the LA show, every walk of life from my childhood up until current. I mean, I moved to LA when I was like 18, 19 years old. So every person that I worked with when I was a kid at the big effect shops, I worked at really big effect shops on big movies, and those guys, to the independent film guys, to the roommates, to the amount of people that showed up at the LA show to watch this movie that I directed.
Yeah.
And I was just that shitty kid most of the time I lived in LA, like I didn't know any of these people took me seriously, and to have them show up. And then there was a lot of people that I worked for, like in the independent film world, all different walks of life, Travis Betts, John Lachago, all these different independent filmmakers, Al Burke, all showing up to support what I did.
Yeah.
It was so touching, because it was like, that was like my resume showed up in that theater. Yeah. And it overflowed the theater. Like, we had people sitting in the aisles. It was amazing. The LA show was amazing. That was our final stop. But we started with 2 sold out screens in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And that was crazy, because it was a big theater, but we had 2 sold out screens, and also a lot of people that I've crossed paths with since I've been here in the short 10 years I've been here. Yeah. But not just cast and crew. I mean, there were strangers. There was all kinds of. It was at a film festival, so it was pretty intense. But I was on up front as usual when we put on these premieres. But what was your experience watching that movie? Was that the first time you had seen it?
I think that's the first time I had seen it, at least in its entirety. I think I had seen bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
You might have shown me my scene at some point. But not like finished, because what ended up on the screen was different than what I saw.
Right.
The extra kind of grin, like snarly grin at the end, sort of thing. It was amazing. The idea of being part of that and actually getting to see myself on that screen, and getting that reaction from everybody, just sort of, it was just such a fun watch. It was such a the crowd was totally into it. They were ready to be scared. They were ready to laugh. They were ready to be amazed. And I just it was, again, I'm just super grateful to even be part of it, because I would just kind of what you were just saying, putting something out like that is such a vulnerable thing.
100%.
I mean, you're slicing yourself open and just laying your guts out, and you're just hoping that people don't just wipe their feet on them.
I've always had this thing too, where it's like, so it's like this haunted house that I just did in Boulder City. It's one thing if, John Williams from down the road built a haunted house he's going to put in Boulder City, and everybody goes and has a good time, and it's going to be fun no matter what. But I consider myself the best, right? Like I'm the owner of the Monster Museum here in Boulder. I built haunted houses now for 20 years. Yeah. Like, if I show up and don't impress, then I've made a misstep or a mistake. I had never directed a movie before Teddy told me to. I worked on a lot of movies. I mean, at that point, well over 100. I'm at like 167 now. But then it was well over 100. And I can critique somebody else for how I would or would not do something, or how I would or would not communicate with people. And I think I've probably critiqued other people to people like you or other people around me. And so for me to put that movie in front of all of those people, and I'm not saying that I pick on people or I'm a bastard or an asshole. I am a constructive criticism person.
You don't
I accept constructive criticism, although I might not listen to you. That's part of it. Your criticism is not my law.
Right.
But I also provide constructive criticism if it's warranted or wanted. I'm not somebody that's going to walk up and just bash something. I will never rip a film apart. If you completed the movie, if it's finished and I can watch it on something, you've succeeded. And hats off to you.
Right.
Hats off to you whether I like it or not. That's not what it's about. But I do often talk about how, not the right way, but how my right way is to get something done, and to finish it and put it out in front of two sold out. That was the first time that I don't get nervous. I don't have those genes. Like, I'm not.
That's the closest I've seen you to nervous.
But I do get to a point where it's like, well, I hope they like it, because I like it, but I hope they like, because the point of the entertainment industry is to entertain. I want to entertain the people in the room. Not all of them. You can't please everybody, and there's going to be someone who bashes or says some ridiculous things. But I will tell you, that movie has gotten almost zero. I've never seen a negative. Like, I've never seen, oh God, take this off the streaming service. This is horrible. Don't ever watch it. Nobody has said it's the worst film since Plan 9 from Outer Space, which I would take as a compliment. Right. But, it's gotten great reviews. And that night, I mean, there was a lot of noise in the audiences, laughter and screaming and applause. And, there's nothing better than a premiere when everybody claps for everybody as they're up there. I love the interaction, the showmanship of a premiere. Yeah. And that premiere particularly was the first of anything I directed. And you are vulnerable, but at the end of the day, it was awesome. And people were high-fiving me out the door, and I left. I drove to Massachusetts that night.
I remember.
And showed it again, and it happened again. And I was like, holy crap, they like it. Yeah. People really digging this movie.
Taking that movie on tour was such a great idea.
Yeah, well, that came out of necessity. We had worked with a publicist who said that I'll walk you into this film festival. I'll walk you into this film festival. He gave us like 8 film festivals he was going to walk us into. And not only did he not walk us into any of them, we didn't get into any film festivals. Yeah. We submitted to 20 different film festivals, and we got turned down by 21. And that sounds ridiculous, but one asked for our film, and then I gave it to him, and then they said, no, we don't want it. Yeah. So it was like, at that point, this is before the premiere, and I thought, they're all going to hate it. Like, I like this, but I like real crappy movies. Yeah. Like, I do love crappy movies. And I love Camp Blood, and I love crappy movies. But they hold a place in my heart. The Dead Hate the Living is one of my favorite movies. And for real. Yeah. People don't like it, but I don't get it. But then I So when we showed it in Vegas and people loved it, I was like, they do like it. And then we showed it in Massachusetts and they loved it again. And I was like, they really love it.
Yeah.
And then we showed it in Maine and they freaking loved it. And I was like, holy crap, this is working.
Here we go.
And like I said, to this day, I get emails or, direct messages. This is a great movie. I can't believe I hadn't seen this. You guys killed it. Hats off to the team.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool. It has picked up steam, but
everyone I've shared it with, they dig it. And honestly, the movies that you make, that one of the things that I hear the most is somebody always comments like, it looks like you guys had fun making that.
it transcends
It
through
pours
the screen.
out of the screen, and it's hard to shit on something that you can just see how genuine everybody is. And it may not be your bag, or maybe it is, but it just pours off of the screen, and you can't. Yeah, that's probably the one of the most common things I hear people say.
Yeah.
And you don't hear that for a lot of movies. It's not like the first or second someone says like, "Oh, look at that! Looks like they had a ball making that." It's like, no, but we do.
We do.
We have so much fun doing it.
We do. And like I said, I've worked on a lot of movies, and a lot of them have been a lot of work, but they're not always as fun as what we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, what we do is like going to film camp, but it's also like, this is going to sound terrible. We don't have a lot of money, and we don't pay a lot of everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's not what it's about. It's
Right.
about going camping and making a movie, or showing up at the shop and building a butcher house and making a movie. And it's like, it's fun. There's almost more fun because it's not our job. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fun because, hey, what do you guys want to do this weekend? Well, I got this idea. We're going to make
movie.
vampires versus punk rockers, and it's going to be this fun movie.
Yeah.
And then we do it. So like there's I don't know. There's something special about what Teddy started. And the crazy thing is the amount of people that have stuck around, but also the amount of people that have kind of fallen off. Because there's two different types of filmmakers. There's those fun filmmakers, and then there's career filmmakers that might be doing this for more of a career. And what my blueprint doesn't match
Yeah.
a job. I'm not that's what I can't offer is a career. I can offer experience. I can offer a good time.
Right.
I can't offer a career because I can't tell you how many people are like, well, when this grows, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't want it to grow too fast. I got to be able to hold it all still.
Yeah.
I got to hold down the fort.
Yeah.
So, but what Teddy has turned into this small little empire out here in the desert, and we make movies over and over and over, and they're so fun, and they're fun to watch, but they're also really fun to make. Almost, I'd say equal parts.
Well, I would say no one is going to ever get as much out of these movies as those of us who make them,
Right.
because they're a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
So every scene I'm watching, I know where I'm at. Obviously, if I'm in front of the screen, there I am.
Yeah.
But I know what was going on in my life at that time. I know the challenges we had that day. I know that breakfast, something went wrong. You know what I mean? Just like whatever it might be is compressed onto that disc and set on the shelf. And I can always go back to it and relive that. So like what we just did, camping up at Mount Charleston for a few days. That was wild, man.
Crazy.
And that's documented.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and will be a feature, and I can't wait to see it on the big screen and all the rest of it. But like that was amazing, and not everybody gets to go out and have a good time and come back with a product
Yeah.
that completely documents that experience.
Yeah. And the people that do sometimes, and I'm guilty of this myself, when you're caught up in this is my job, I'm an effects guy, and I go work on this movie and that movie and this movie and that movie and that movie and this movie, you stop you stop remembering.
Yeah.
It becomes numb because it's no longer special. It becomes, and there's no the struggle's not the same. Like me and you and Kayla and the rest up on this hill trying to produce something, or when it comes to Teddy trying to finish this massive undertaking, it's kind of do or die. Like we need you guys, and I need you, and you need, we all come together and help. But when it's just your job, 12 hours, I'm going home. You know what I mean?
I get it.
It's a different type of passion. And in my effects career, the early stuff, the guys I bonded with the most were when we were doing it for fun. And then when it became for the money and to live and to pay bills and this and that, it got less personal. And I tell people when I teach classes a lot, I tell people the first thing you need to remember is that you get so busy chasing the dream you forget at the moment you're living the dream. I do remember on several of our movies, I've stopped everybody and been like, all right, we just all need to focus on the fact that right now we are living the dream.
Yes.
Like, this is the funnest we're going to have today, you know, and we'll do better tomorrow. But, you know, it's all about having fun. And I think that's why it transcends the screen, because if we don't lose sight of that, if you don't get so stressed out because, you know, lights break, generators don't work, sometimes you don't have batteries, sometimes somebody forgot something, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're going to make something cool.
Well, that's where I like independent filmmaking. We can't just throw money at it to fix it.
Yeah. No,
we
overcome.
We got to get creative.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we've done out of necessity are better than what they would have been if it all worked out.
And that's what happened over and over in Teddy Told Me To. Like, the whole ending of the movie was rewritten because it didn't work, and we just had to change it, you know, and then it's better because it opened it for a sequel. And I just think that, you know, this time of year, every year I start thinking about that movie. And without that movie, we wouldn't have just done what we did in Bloody Bluff. Right. Like, I had never directed. I never thought about directing. And now I cannot stop. And I owe it all to Teddy Told Me To. And I think that, you know, it was awesome having you, like, as our mid-aged Teddy. You know, my son being the youngest. Yeah. There's another child, Teddy, that was played by Drew Marvick's son. And then you. And then, of course, Michael Shields, who's our main killer in the movie. Yeah. Big Ted. And having that lineage, and it all works so magically together, and all of them are such good buddies. You know, you and Michael Shields. And
he doesn't look like my dad in real life, but he looks like he could be my
Teddy.
dad.
He looks like Teddy's dad.
Yeah.
And and I think that's pretty awesome. And just having and Michael Shields was the same situation where it was like, that dude had never acted in a movie, but he was great in The Haunted House, and he always played Teddy in The Haunted House. Yeah. And I was like, I won't take that away from him. And he killed it, literally and figuratively. Yeah. Like him smashing Eric Hart's face to a pulp. I know that there was some truth to that.
Well, I know. I know you said slow motion is unnecessary. I disagree. Where it's used in some of these movies is.
I love slow motion.
Yeah, the time with the Stevens with the knife sort of thing is.
Well, and that comes from my life in the past. As a young buck, I loved skateboarding and making skate videos and stuff, and it was always that slow motion kickflip.
Yeah, totally.
You know, it's like whenever you want to emphasize something that's super cool, you slow it down. And as an effects artist, every time I cut somebody's face off or smash them with a hammer, it's so quick you don't see it.
Right.
And so, when I got the chance to direct, I was like, no. We're going to slow it down. Let people see the awesome, you know.
The reaction of the crowd was amazing, because it starts, I was like, oh, kill, oh, shit. And then it's like,
it's not
still
stopping.
Going. It's like, oh, and then it kind of gets quiet, and then people kind of start laughing uncomfortably, and then sort of like cheering, like, yeah, keep smashing his head, keep cutting that cheek, or whatever it is. It's a very interesting way to sort of, I think the folks are off guard.
Two of my editors in different situations told me that I had to not do that.
Well, I'm not one of them.
And I told them, I said, nope, listen, this is my movie, and I'm going slow motion on the kills, like completely. And honestly, I think it's kind of like, if you don't do that, you're not giving the audience doesn't care about the humans talking about their relationships. Right. The audience cares about the Savini moment, you know, the hatchet moment with tearing the head. Yeah. Like, we want to show. I love when those guts fall out in slow motion and splash all over the floor. When Beasts kill is my favorite, when his guts just spill out on the floor.
Another quality slow motion.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and then he drops to his knees into the puddle, and it just splashes so beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something artful about like fluid moving in slow motion.
Every
Yeah.
last drop. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
Fluid
love
in slow
it.
motion for sure.
We do a lot of that in Slaughterhouse in the Hill too.
All right.
But yeah, well, it's spooky season, and I know you have work to do at your haunt. The one other thing I'd like to touch on before you leave is you're a long time goer of horror conventions, but through Teddy, you got to sit on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
You got to go out to Mad Monster Party and be part of the thing. How did that feel?
Amazing. I know I keep saying amazing a lot. I need to get a thesaurus. I enjoy the horror cons. I do. One of the many things that you have brought to my life is more opportunity to sort of be on the other side. Horror is such an accessible genre. You know what I mean? And to actually get to go to a con and know people now and actually get to sit behind the table. And I mean, you didn't have to do that. You got us all 8x10s and we're signing autographs. And the whole time I'm having an out of body experience. It's like, what the fuck am I doing at a horror convention? Sitting next to Kane Hodder, of all people, at the next table. You guys are cracking jokes back and forth. And I'm signing autographs for horror fans to a movie that I don't think anyone had seen.
It was not out yet. No.
Yeah, but they were just so intrigued with the premise, and we were good natured at the table as best we could. Like any other horror movie, there's always some autograph line cutting in the way and so
Yeah.
forth. But such an amazing experience, and that's one that I'll carry with me to the grave. And I've had experiences like that since, little bits here and there, never quite like that. But now it's nice that almost any horror convention I go to, I'm going to run into somebody that I see, whether it's at a vendor table or just walking around, and sort of having that opportunity to be part of that family a little more legitimately than just a fan. I am a total fan, but I appreciate the access that I have now.
The as much as I was talking earlier, I've done effects my whole life. I'll be known as an effects artist, but I'm really working on being known as the director or filmmaker.
Yeah.
But as much as my career as a director has grown, I mean, I put you in every movie I make. So your career as an actor is growing exponentially.
It's crazy.
So like, there will be a day that you're walking through a horror convention and someone's like, "Man, Dirty Donnie," or Jacques, is that you?
Jacques.
I cannot wait till the day that you the other day, Steve Hansen took me aside and he said, "Brother, this guy, I was just walking and he just said, 'Yo, Slaughterhouse on the Hill.'" Yeah. And then I turned and he was talking to me,
Yeah.
And I can't wait to hear the day that you come back and be like, "Dude, someone called me Jacques at the airport."
I'll let you know, man.
I'll tell you, because I was that fan. I have this awesome, funny time. I'm a huge Dave Parker fan. Dave Parker directed The Dead Hate the Living. And he also directed a movie called The Hills Run Red. I love both those movies a lot. And so one time I was standing in line at a movie theater at a screening of Night Watch in LA, and I just go, "Dave Parker." And he turned around, and of course it's Dave Parker. And I was, oh man, we met a couple years ago at a horror con. Yeah, Trent Haga introduced us, and I just made some shit up. Yeah. I had just seen him, thought it, and it came out,
Yeah.
And so there will be a fan that picks you out of the crowd someday, and I can't wait till you can say, "Hey, this dude yelled Teddy across the street," and that'll be awesome. Because that's what I want. That's what I can offer this group of weirdos that helps me achieve my dreams, is like, "Hey, let me help you achieve your dreams." Not financially, because I'm not there yet, but I would like to do it through the passions. I always try to get people that, if there's a certain person somebody wants to work with, or if there's some, I always want to help that way. But yeah.
Well, it's appreciated, and honestly, I'm Team Devlin till the day I die. That's my home base. But because of, like you say, the free film school, I've got a bit of a reputation that I've been able to do other things away from here.
Of course.
Which has been, it's out of my comfort zone, but it's been super rewarding. So 2 movies with Eric Mathis, which when I get to play creatures in all his movies, those are a blast to make. We just did Clown Motel 3. which I got to play a couple of clowns and a west. I got my head blown off in a western sort of flashback sort of thing. I only know that because I know Joe Castro because of this and that, but everything sort of goes back to my experiences with you, and I couldn't be more grateful, man. Like,
Well,
it's just
I couldn't be more grateful for all the help and positive energy, and it just all goes back to Teddy told me to me, like that. If we didn't make that movie, we'd just be working on other people's movies,
Yeah.
you know. So now we're doing our own, and I think it's awesome.
It's been a real treat watching you develop as a director as well. Not to toot your horn too much for you, but from each one, and like you said, some people stick around, some people drop off. There's it's kind of a natural filter where those of us who are really on the team and thinking on the same page and so forth move on to the next one, and move on to the next one, and it's becoming this sort of I mean, what we just did on Bloody Bluff was incredible.
It's pretty incredible.
And you know, this is not what we do for a living, especially me.
Right.
And the talent on that mountain was it blew me away.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I get to do this. And I'll have people say, what do you make doing that? You must make all you're in the movies. And it's like, dude, I don't make shit. I don't need that. I'm doing it for the experience. I'm doing it because I want your movies to be as incredible as they can possibly be, or
Our
whoever's
movies.
Our movies.
Our movies. Yes.
But that's, you know, they don't understand that. But everyone has their hobbies, and everyone drops a bunch of money into their hobbies, and it's just like, we make movies. I'd rather make movies than collect Matchbox cars or some crap. You know what I mean? Like, everyone has their thing. Apologies to all you Matchbox car collectors out there.
Yeah.
But, I'm always waiting for the next one, and the next one's going to be even better. I like that every movie we make is our favorite movie
Yeah.
so far,
It should be.
and that says something.
But there's a crazy thing about that too, because I'll be like, I'll never beat this one. This is the best.
Right.
And then you're on the next one. You're like, holy smokes, this is the best.
This one's the best.
This one's the
Uh-huh.
best. And then, I mean, I'm on a Bloody Bluff high right now, so I can't wait
Yeah.
to. I'm gonna dive into it. We're gonna get these movies. We have 3 movies in post that have to get done November, December, and then we'll start discussing what's next. But
Okay.
it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, dude.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm gonna get you out of here and get another guest in here.
Yeah. You're
So,
a busy guy, man. And
yeah.
it's fun to be part of it.
Well, I'm off the clock right now.
Okay.
Hey guys, it's Tom Devlin, and thank you for joining me on Off the Clock. I am so stoked to be taking a break from my busy life to sit down with my buddies and talk to them, and I love that you guys get to hear it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, and we'll see you next time.